on my mind, girl, since the flood.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my March wrap up. I can't believe we're at the end of the month, but we are. So this month I hit a little bit of a slump halfway through the month. I just didn't feel like reading at all, especially because I was very busy and very stressed out, but I managed to finish a total of 8 books. So that is good, and hopefully next month I'm gonna shoot for 10. So let's just get right into the books. The first 5-star book I read this month was Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I had put this on my TBR pile for months, so I finally decided to get around to it, and I am so happy that I did. I really enjoyed this book. I have to finish the next book before the series comes back on. If you guys want to be able to discuss the TV show together, I can do like a live show where we can talk about it. I know a lot of you guys said you really wanted to discuss this TV show. Now, this is kind of a controversial book. Either you really love it or you really hate it. And I know there are some things in here that are kind of questionable, but again, for me, I'm able to just take a fictional story as it is, a fictional story, and really enjoy it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with everything in the book. However, I do think this is a fun book. I think it's a super nice historical romance. I read this in about 3 days. It's about 600 pages, and I would highly recommend it. If you guys want more in-depth review, I can do that, but for now, I'm just gonna tell you guys I loved it. A 4-star book I read this month was The Innocent by Harlan Coben. So the dust jacket's no longer on this because I bought it at a used bookstore, but he signed it, so I decided the dust jacket was not worth me buying it if it was signed. So Harlan Coben, if you don't know, is kind of a mystery thriller writer. He has this amazing ability to give you 2 completely different worlds and somehow weave them together. He's very talented. So this was my first experience with his books. My parents absolutely love his books, and I enjoyed it a little bit. There were some things in it where there were kind of some holes that I didn't quite understand, but all in all, there's a guy named Matt Hunter, and he is married, and one day he gets this text message on his phone of this video of his wife wearing a wig in this room with this random guy, and he responds and she doesn't answer, and then they go on this huge big long chase, and it's a very interesting book. I don't want to spoil it for you. I gave it 4 stars because I enjoyed it. I read it in a few days, so it wasn't too bad, but there were some things in it that I just didn't love. Another 4-star book I read this month was Things No One Will Tell a Fat Girl by Jess Baker. So I'm really into the body positive movement, if you guys didn't know, here on my channel. And I really wanted to read this book to pass on the information for other people, but also because I'm always very interested in any kind of body positive thing I can get my hands on. I don't necessarily self-identify as everything that she says in this book, like the specific things. However, I do think it's great if you're somebody who is constantly striving for that like body positive kind of self-love thing. But I enjoyed Big Girls by Kelsey Miller that I read in January a lot more than this, only because I felt like Big Girls, there were more points that I could connect with, but I do feel like there are some points you could definitely connect with. It's kind of a series of essays that Jess Baker writes just on her experience with her body and how other people treat her according to her body, and it's very interesting. There are some sad parts, but there are definitely some really good gems in here. The next book I read this month was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. If you didn't see my review on this on Goodreads, you would not know that I was highly disappointed by this book. I gave it 3 stars, and then I think I retracted it down to 2 stars. So this book is so hyped on the BookTube community. I picked it up because I got it for really cheap, and I had really no idea going into it what it was, so I kind of just had no expectations. Besides, it was probably going to be a pretty good book, and I didn't really like it. Honestly, I was pushing myself to finish it towards the end. It's really not creepy at all, and the best part are definitely these like vintage photographs. They're very interesting, and I like how he tied them into the story itself. However, the story itself was just, I didn't like it very much. I mean, I like time travel, and it's an interesting concept, but the romance was kind of creepy. He like starts to meet this girl who was in love with his grandfather, and he like falls in love with her, and I don't know, it was interesting, and I get where he was going with this, and I understand, but it could have been done better is what I'm saying. I think it could have been a really good story if it would have just been different. I don't know. There was some writing in it, plot holes, I just didn't like it. And I finished one 3-star ebook, which is called Submerged by Danny Petrie. This is a novel set in the Alaskan countryside, and it's like a mystery kind of. Honestly, long story short, I didn't really enjoy it. I thought I was really gonna like it. It's like a 7-book series. I got the ebook for free for a review. I just didn't like it that much. I didn't think it was as good as it could have been again, and the writing was juvenile kind of in some parts. I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy it that much. I read 2 Karen Whitmire books. I read A Short Straw Bride and Full Steam Ahead. Full Steam Ahead I didn't like as much as I liked the rest of Karen Whitmire's books. It was very slow. It's about this man who falls in love with this girl and he is this kind of like this recluse, and he works on boilers in ships, and it's just an interesting story, but it didn't pick up very much until the very end, so wasn't a huge fan of that one. But I did love A Short Straw Bride. It is a series which I will definitely be continuing on in. It is about this girl who falls in love with this guy, but they can't be together, and it's a very cute novel. They're both Christian historical fiction romances. Honestly, I think I'm tired myself out of Christian historical romance books. And then I read one Francine Rivers book. It is An Echo in the Darkness. It is number 2 in the Mark of the Lion series. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars because the first book I loved. It was about a girl who gets enslaved in the time when Rome was toppling Jerusalem, and it's a very interesting story. It's sad in parts, but it really connects you, and this is told from this perspective of Marcus, and I loved watching his story, and I loved the ending. I just thought it was great. And the final book I read this month was White Queen by Philippa Gregory. So I love historical fiction books, and I thought I was really gonna enjoy this, but honestly I didn't love it that much. I gave it 3 stars. It was just dragging on at the end. It was over 300 pages and it just didn't need to be. There were parts that were just so boring that I almost wanted to skip them. This is basically the story behind the 2 boys who were found locked in the Tower of London. And basically Philippa Gregory does a historical fiction account of what she believes happened, or what she just dreamed up what happened. All the characters in it are real. They're all the reigning kings and queens at the time. They were all parts of history, but it's not necessarily a historical fact, besides the 2 boys locked in the Tower of London. So those were all the books I read in March. How many books did you guys read? Do you have any books that you really loved that you want me to read? Let me know down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it that big thumbs up, and I will see you back here later.
Oh, Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood.